everybody, once again. My name is Madhvi. I live in Vancouver, Canada, with my husband and my daughter. We've been here for 22 years. We immigrated 22 years ago. My husband and I are both dentists by profession. And our daughter is 24. She's doing her third year medicine this year. The main reason I come into this 4 years ago was that until then I focused entirely on my career. It was all about my education, my career, my growth, my family, my home, my practice. Everything was revolving around myself. And 4 years ago, it had been bothering me for many years, and 4 years ago I took the decision to actively come and do something hands-on, not just donate money, but actually be present and do something. Today, I've come here as a representative of SAHA, South Asian Humanist Association, and I feel honored to speak at a conference done by Periyar Group. Any relationship with Periyar members or followers is an honor. And I thank Roy of AHA for connecting me with you and giving me an opportunity to speak here. Before I go further, I would like to put out a disclaimer that I'm not a geneticist. I'm not an expert in the field of genetics. As I said, I'm a dentist by profession. All the research I have done was taken from the sources and that I've listed over there. We're planning to rope in, South Asian Humanist Association is planning to rope in a couple of geneticists to help us with this work. So without their help, this project will not go anywhere. Another thing I want to tell you is the knowledge that we have today, the scientific knowledge we have today, the information we have today, may not be relevant tomorrow. Science is constantly evolving, and we will have to evolve with it. Fight against caste system has been going on for several years. SAHA is not the first one talking about it. As we have seen today, some of the other presenters already, some young group already mentioned about the caste discrimination that they're facing here in USA in academic institutions. The fight has been going on for several years. Great people like B.R. Ambedkar and Periyar, they spent their life fighting for this cause. What we have that they didn't right now is the development that happened in the last 50 years in science. We want to take this caste fight to the next level by the help of science. By using the DNA technology, we would like to prove to the people that we're originating from the same source, same genetic material. This seems like a distant dream, and probably an impossible dream, but we want to give it our best shot. This may not happen for several hundred years, but even if we succeed by bringing change in some people's mindsets, just by making some people, there are lots of good, decent human beings. They're stuck in this caste system because they don't know any better. They're not educated. They're ignorant. They don't understand that they don't understand evolution and how we all came about. So a part of that is ignorance, and we want to educate those people. And my main aim is to educate the younger generation, because these are college-educated, university-educated people, but they're not able to get out of this caste system. They're stuck there. That's what they've been taught as children. That's what they practice, and tomorrow they're going to teach their children, create more casteist people. The ammunition that I said we have is science. So with the help of science, I'm hoping we can reach the young people who study science. Before I go into details about India's caste system, I would like to trace my steps and take us back to the beginning, to 4.5 billion years ago. Our planet is estimated to be 4.5 billion years old, and there was no life for about 1 billion years on this planet. And the life started evolving around 3.5 billion years ago. It started out from a self-replicating single cell that has gone on to become a single-celled organism, and then eventually it became a multi-celled organism, and then went on to evolve into fish, amphibians, reptiles, ground mammals, tree mammals, bipedal mammals, just before us, and then eventually humans. There were several stages in the human evolution as well, as you can see in the bottom here. And then we finally, at this point, we have reached the so that's the anatomically correct modern human. I'm so glad I'm in America and I'm able to do this. If I go to India and if I have a picture of Modi, I'll probably be arrested the next day. So I'm lucky. I want to start with the human migratory history, early human migration. There have been many theories about this. There was one popular multi-regional theory where scientists believe that life started sporadically at different places and different nations formed. And first, there are two versions of out of Africa theory. First one said that life evolved in Africa and people ventured out. And out of Africa theory 2 reiterated the same thing. Recently, they found a fossil in Europe, and there has been a suggestion that maybe life indeed evolved in Europe. Tomorrow, science can say, actually, Africa was not our birth region. Actually, we came from somewhere else. So be it. Science is evolving, finding new things. I'm a person of science, and I'll retract my statement. At this time, what I believe, is the most widely accepted theory among scientific circles, which is out of Africa theory. What it says is, human beings, the modern human, evolved over 200,000 years ago in Africa, and ventured out of the continent about 100,000 years ago, reaching to several parts of the world: Europe, Asia, Australia, North America, and most recently South America. No matter how we think of ourselves, how proud we feel about our American ancestry or Indian ancestry or Canadian ancestry or European ancestry, if we go far enough back, we all have African ancestry. That's where we all came from. Even though our history is over 200,000 years old, most of the growth that we see and enjoy today has happened within the last 10,000 years. The agricultural revolution, industrial revolution, the growth in science, technology, medicine, every part of every industry. While we have grown many ways in a short time, I think we've failed socially. Socially, we failed. If I take the context of India here, our growth sadly led to division of people. It created division. When the first batch of Africans left the continent in search for better environment, better climatic conditions, when they ventured out, they were not successful. Most of them died because they ventured out on their own. When they realized that in groups they could have better success, that's what they did later, and eventually they succeeded. Somewhere along the way, we've forgotten that we've formed groups, and that the stratification in society that we see today in Indian society is what is my subject about. The caste system in India came about 3,000 to 5,000 years ago. 5,000 years ago. Some say not that old, some say maybe older than that. It is among the world's oldest forms of surviving social stratification. Manusmriti, widely regarded to be the most important and authoritative book on Hindu law, dating back to at least 1,000 years before Christ, acknowledges and justifies the caste system as the basis of order and regularity of society. To me, in its existing form today, is an uncivilized and abhorrent practice, with untouchability being a part of it. It is unthinkable to people like you and I, but it is the reality of millions of oppressed Indians. There are several theories about how the Varna system, Jati system, or caste system came about, or how it evolved into today's system. There is no way to know with certainty without extensive anthropological and genetic studies. We've had some studies done so far. Instead of wasting money on more studies, I don't care when it started, I don't care why it started, I don't care who started it. I care about what it is doing to the society today. I care about the division it's creating among people. I care about the oppression that people are subjected to because of it today. We don't want it in our society today, period. Somebody already mentioned this in the previous lecture. One of the widely accepted theories is that the creator, Hindu lord of creation, Brahma, created people from different parts of his body. Those that supposedly derived from his head became the Brahmins, the highest in the caste hierarchy. They were the priests and educators. They had the knowledge. And the other group that supposedly originated from the shoulders of Brahma became the kings and rulers. And the third group, supposedly derived from his thighs, became the businessmen, the tradesmen. And the fourth group, comprised of everybody else, they are called Shudras, and they supposedly derived from the feet of Brahma. Outside this grading system, there were Achyuts, literally translated as untouchables. The term we use for them are Dalits. What it tells me, the reason they put them below these four grades is that when they already considered the lowest grade, which are Shudras, to do all kinds of labor work and everything, putting another group below them even says that they were not even considered human. They didn't even fit into this hierarchy. They were outcasts. Today's caste, it's estimated that there are 2,000 castes in India today and 25,000 subcastes. This all happened in the last few hundred years. It couldn't have happened when it started out. For centuries, caste dictated almost every aspect of Hindu religious and social life, with each group occupying a specific place in this complex hierarchy. Rural communities were long arranged on the basis of caste, the upper and lower caste almost always living in segregated colonies. The water wells were not shared. Brahmins would not accept food or drink from the hands of Shudra, and one was only allowed to marry within one's own caste. I could forget this easily, only if it wasn't happening today. It's happening today. In fact, in the last 20 years or so, it has gotten worse. In the past, only the older generation, people who didn't get any formal education or who didn't see people from other regions, people who lived in their village till their death, who didn't have any other exposure, if they believed in this system and if they practiced this system, maybe to some extent I can make peace with it. It might have made sense to them. But this practice is still going on now, right now, and even youth, young people are a part of it. Is this system legal? No, it's not legal. Independent India's constitution banned discrimination on the basis of caste in an attempt to correct historical injustices faced by the disadvantaged castes. The authorities announced quotas in government jobs and educational institutions. They call it reservation system. When you talk about reservation system, somebody mentioned it today in another lecture. There is a huge negative reaction to it. All the upper caste people, so-called upper caste people, who do not have this reservation benefit, say this should be stopped. It should not be in place. It is taking away from a smart person and giving the opportunity to somebody just because they're born in the lower caste. But this system was important when it was placed. At that time, no Dalit was ever able to study, go to school, have any kind of opportunity. So this was just a way to come up with a level playing field. And in 70 years, we haven't reached there. And taking this reservation system out of use would be detrimental because I lost my train of thought there. So this reservation system, someone mentioned that India has the reserved and America has the deserved. The notion is that all the intelligent people, all the able people migrate out of India, go to countries like America, and the people that stay back are the ones that get opportunities through the reservation system. It is a gross lie because they are the people with reservations are the majority of people. More than 60% come under that category. And the reservations that they get are very, very minimal. They're immaterial in the whole practice. But the fight keeps going on. It's always, all my educated, rich friends complain that their kids didn't get in because that seat has gone to a reservation candidate. My argument for them is this oppression of these classes has been going on for probably 3,000 years or more. And the reservation benefit it has only been implemented 70 years ago. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who was the author of Indian Constitution, was instrumental in implementing this, and it started in 1950. They're comparing 3,000 years of oppression with 70 years of bare minimum benefits. There is no contest. It's not the same. Nobody should even be contesting that. And I'm constantly arguing about it with my friends. When the time comes when everybody from the oppressed classes has the opportunity to go to school, to get a job, to take care of their families, or be able to afford a land if they want to farm, then that may be a few hundred years down the road, then we can take off the reservation system. Until then, we have to deal with it. When I talk about caste, I have to mention two things. One is the so-called forward caste competing for supremacy amongst themselves. All these upper caste people with wealth and power and education, each caste thinks that they're better than the others. And they make claims. Politics, entertainment, education, friendships, businesses, everything revolves around the caste. From electing a leader, not because of his capabilities to govern people, a leader will be elected because most people from his caste would vote for him. And Dalits are used as pawns in this because to get the Dalit votes. So politics and caste system are very closely related, and that has to be broken. That link has to be broken. If you talk about educational institutions, of course, government institutions have to allow all students without any problem. But the private institutions, they have a say. They can say no to a Dalit student coming in, and not just Dalit student. Actually, some institutions directly cater to their caste people. If somebody opens a college for engineering or sciences, whatever, the fundraising is done by the same caste people. All the admissions are for the students born in that caste. So if for any reason another caste member is in that school, or if a reservation candidate is in that school or college, these young people who are being educated, who are supposed to be broader minded than our ancestors, they torture them, they harass them to a point where either they leave school, they leave the program, or they commit suicide, or live life like slaves, literally segregated, even though it's an educational institution and this is 21st century. Movie stars. You would expect people to like a movie star for his acting ability or perhaps good looks. In Andhra Pradesh and the Telugu-speaking states, movie stars have a following based on their caste. The more caste followers he has a bigger fan base. Ridiculous, right? It sounds, it's mind-numbingly stupid, basically. I'll give you a few examples of how it works. A politician claimed a few years ago that he actually had the audacity to refer to science here. He said, I want to get my DNA tested. I will get my DNA tested and prove to the rest of you that people from my caste are superior to the rest of you. This was a public announcement. This was a public person. And I happened to have the misfortune of listening to a youth leader speak, addressing thousands of his followers of his caste. He apparently went to his doctor for a blood donation. And the doctor asked him, "Sir, are you from this caste?" And this guy said, "Oh, yeah, but how did you know?" And the doctor supposedly told him, "Your blood cells had a certain discipline that automatically I assumed that you must be from that caste." So this guy, he concocts a story about this doctor and he comes up with it, and he tells these thousands of people listening to him, and he tells them that, "See, our blood is special." He even said, "God must be from our caste." Because God also has caste. Because we are born in this caste, because we are blessed, God must have been from our caste. He had the audacity to tell those people not to donate their blood to people outside their caste. So these are not people that are just, if you go to a religious group and they're chanting, doing whatever, feeling peaceful, those are not dangerous people. They're enjoying whatever, they're getting some happiness out of it. But people like this, standing on public platforms, addressing thousands of people, telling these lies, literally brainwashing them, are a danger to the society. And this was from one particular caste, and there are instances, videos in circulation of different caste leaders doing something, saying something on similar lines. Everybody is superior. So that is the fight amongst the so-called upper caste people. The most recent example I want to give to the Periyar followers here, on his birthday a few days ago, Facebook was flooded with the Periyar photographs of Periyar and his work. They were praising. There were a lot of people in Telugu-speaking states as well that follow Periyar, like me. And one Facebook friend posted a meme about Periyar. And a young man, educated young man, his comment was, "I am his caste, he is my caste." Who? Periyar. The man who denounced his caste, the man who fought for castelessness, the man who brought reform in the society with his revolutionary ideas, fought against Dalit oppression. He's not remembered for all his work. He's relatable because of his caste. It made me really sad. Because it's a young, intelligent boy that made this comment. And there are many like him. India having a 1.3 billion population, just imagine how many young people with this mindset are roaming around. And these are our future. That is why we are worried. That's why we are worried. We don't see it as a problem that will go away. When I was a kid, I used to think only my grandmother's generation had this issue. My parents changed. I've changed even more. My kids will be better. And soon this whole thing will be out of the society. But I've noticed that, to my shock, in the last 20 years, it has gotten worse. Some of my friends say, "Why are you always talking about caste? Why are you always pointing to the negative aspect of our caste system?" Or talking about, they take offense because this is Hindu, based in Hindu religion. They take offense to it. Hindus take offense to it. And they think I'm pointing only the negatives. I could be talking about the positives. Yes, I could be talking about the positives, but there are a lot of people already doing that. I want to talk about the negatives because I'm concerned that our young India is going in the direction they should not be going, just walking backwards. The second most important thing, and the thing that bothers me the most, is the untouchability issue and the Dalit atrocity issue. A recent survey found that 27% of Indians still practice untouchability. Bizarrely enough, that survey that they did concluded that not just Hindus, but Jains, Sikhs, Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, and even some tribals follow untouchability. It is not limited to Hinduism alone, so it has become a cultural phenomenon. More than 165 million people in India continue to be subject to discrimination, exploitation, and violence simply because of their caste. They did a survey on atrocities committed against Dalits and Adivasis. Adivasis are tribals. 64% of them said they faced discrimination or atrocity. But only 21% of them had the courage to report it to the authorities. And 63% of them who reported did not get any help. Back in June, when I spoke at AHA, I gave two examples of Dalit atrocities. One was Bakki Sinu, who was a 30-year-old young poor farmer. He was passing by a mango orchard, and he picked some fallen fruit. And some upper caste workers saw him. They beat him to death. They killed him brutally, and they hung his body in a public office in front of the whole village. They made an example out of him. I also gave an example of another lady who was educated, who was harassed for 3 years by her upper caste peers. She was a gynecology resident. She would have become a gynecologist in a year and practiced and served her community. She killed herself because authorities wouldn't care for her complaints, and she could not bear the torture any longer. She was there for 3 years, and she ended her life. When I was I mentioned these two examples in June. When I was preparing for this, I was going through the presentation thinking if I should change anything for this. I realized that there have been more instances that have happened in this last few months that I could actually change these examples and talk about some other people. And what dawned on me was that if I were to be given a chance to speak about it every 2 or 3 months in this country, at each and every event, I will be able to pick up at least 2 fresh examples to speak about of lynching and murders or rapes. It's a very disturbing thought. UN organizations like UN take notice of women oppression under Sharia law. There are some things that the whole world knows about. Dalit atrocities are not known to the Western world. These people and their plight needs to be acknowledged too. Gross human rights violations are taking place, and we cannot ignore them. Let me deviate for a second from this shameful topic and talk about science. Cells are basic building blocks of all living things. The human body is composed of trillions of cells, and they have many parts, each with a different function. This is a basic illustration of a human cell. Deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA, is a molecule that contains the instructions an organism needs to develop, live, and reproduce. These instructions are found inside every cell, and are passed down from the parents to their children. Nearly every cell in the person's body has the same DNA. And most of the DNA is located in the nucleus of the cell, in that blue, in blue, but some DNA is present in mitochondria as well, and that's what we are talking about. Nuclear DNA is inherited from both parents, whereas mitochondrial DNA is from a single lineage, maternal lineage. I got my nuclear DNA from both my parents, but I got my mitochondrial DNA from my mother, and I passed it down to my daughter. In 1987, one of the largest mitochondrial DNA studies was done and published by Kahn, Stoneking, and Wilson in Nature magazine. Its main conclusion was that all mitochondrial DNA stem from one woman, and she probably lived around 200,000 years ago in Africa. Theoretically, we should be able to trace our maternal DNA back all the way to mitochondrial Eve. Mitochondrial Eve, her daughters, their daughters, and all the 21st century women. However, this does not mean that she was the first modern human or that she was living alone. It just indicates that only her DNA, only her descendants survive to this day. If you look around in this hall, all the females in this room are able to, or they have either contributed their mitochondrial DNA to their children, or if they're not yet in that age, they would be able to. One big down point for men, you can do that. You will ask me, why is the caste system relevant to anyone outside India? Why should we talk about it in America? One thing, as humanists, I believe our main goal is to protect human rights, irrespective of gender, sexual orientation, race, color of the skin, nationality, religious beliefs, irrespective of everything. We believe that every individual should have equal human rights. So it is a problem I think whole world should care about. Another reason is it is not a problem confined to India anymore. This problem is existing. For example, let's just talk about USA today. We're in USA. It is here. We have about 4 major cultural organizations operating in the States. They conduct events, cultural events, to celebrate the culture, their heritage. Nobody overtly says that only these caste people are welcome, but in the last 60 or 70 years, people have been so divided that one caste organization's event will be attended only by the caste people of that organization. And there are 4 of them like that, and there will be more in future. We would like organizations like yours and American Humanist Association and Humanist International to pay attention to this. These people have voices. There are many Dalit activists working on this, but they don't have a platform. They don't have a platform to speak about what is going on in those villages and all. Those young people were talking about educational institutions, universities in America showing discrimination based on caste. So this is going to get really bad in the near future. What do we want to do? We would like to take your help. We want our voice to be heard. We want you to help us reach United Nations so that maybe United Nations would intervene and do something about this issue. Maybe talk to the government authorities. Maybe implement better policies. In the meantime, what we want to do is, we want to choose some volunteers, few volunteers from each caste, trace their maternal DNA, the mitochondrial DNA. We don't have to go 200,000 years back to mitochondrial Eve. Even if we can go back to 10,000 years, it would still be enough because the caste system has only been there less than 5,000 years. If we can do that, scientifically we can prove to people, we can tell them, look, we have scientific evidence that says caste system did not exist beyond this point, and prior to this, everybody married everybody lived together, everybody had absolutely no issues. They didn't. Now, it's like tribalism. We are living in little groups now. We didn't live like that before. As distant dream as it sounds, we want to give it our best shot, try and do something about it. We've got two scientists, one from the United States and one from Hyderabad, India, that have verbally agreed to help us with this venture. We just want to reach more people, find some volunteers, and the volunteers should be from all castes. This would also apply to eliminate racial issues, racial problems, because if we are going back to Africa, all races trace back to Africa, right? Everybody wins. This can be useful for those working on racial discrimination as well. It's a very cliched statement, but I'm going to say it. We belong to the same mother. Let's acknowledge that. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you for your patience, your attention and time.